Hi everyone, my name is Gina. Today I will be showing you how to make this cascading crystal cube necklace. This necklace as it's lying here looks a little blocky as the fringe increases to a point. However, when you put it on, it lies very fluid into a very nice V shape. It's an impressive necklace. The necklace itself is made from a base of ladder stitch. Then through the ladder stitch you will make a top embellishment and a fringe. It's actually a very simple process. It does take a lot of beads and it does take quite a bit of time. That being said, let's go through what you'll need for this project. You will need 339 4mm crystal cubes. I'm using a silvery blue Chinese crystal. Now, it does take a lot of crystal, so if you'd like to get creative and mix pearls or fire polish beads in, or use a bicone instead of a cube, that's very possible. However, your ladder stitch should be made with the cube. Doesn't necessarily need to be a crystal. You can use any 4mm cube that you would like. Then you will need a 10-0 seed bead. I am using check seed beads and metallic silver. You will need a 3mm round bead. I'm using a clear AB finished crystal. However, you can use a pearl, fire polish bead, whatever you'd like. And you will need a 15-0 seed bead. I am using a 15-0 galvanized silver Toho. You will need a segment of chain, 1 to 2 to 3 inches, depending upon how much you would like to extend your necklace. Our necklace will be approximately 16.5 inches if you use the specs that I'm going to give you. You will need 2 jump rings, a lobster claw clasp, and 2 wire guardians or protectors, whichever you'd like to call them. We are going to start with a ladder stitch. Thread 2 wingspans of Fireline 6-pound onto your needle. I'm using a size 10. And we will start by picking up 2 4mm cubes and pulling them to the end of our fire line. I'm using a shorter amount of thread, and I'm not going to leave a very long tail just for the sake of showing you how to do the ladder stitch. Leave at least a 6 to 8 inch tail. After you've moved your cubes down to the end of your thread, then you're going to position them between your fingers and go back up through both cubes. Let loose and turn them side to side and pull your thread tight. And this is what you will have. Now, they're not sitting perfectly close to each other. They're a little sideways. So what we're going to do to correct that problem is we are going to go back through both the beads. We're going to go back through the first one we added first, pull tight, pull on your tail, and then back through the second one we added, and pull tight until we get them nice and neat. Now they're lying together pretty nicely. Then we're going to put another crystal on our thread, go back through the second bead on the opposite side that the thread is coming out of, pull your bead up, arrange it, hold on to it, go back up through the bead you just added. And again, it's not very neat, so I'm going to go through one more time. Through the second bead, back up through the one I just added, and pull tight. Now, they don't have to be perfect, because as we're sewing through these with our fringing and our top embellishment, they'll kind of straighten out. Anyway, if you need to reinforce them a couple of times, that's okay. These holes are pretty good size. Even though we will be going through our beads several times with 6-pound Fireline, it should be okay if you need to reinforce them as you're working your ladder stitch. Let's do this one more time. pick up a bead, go through the opposite side of the previous bead that the thread is coming out of. Arrange your new bead and then come back down through the bead you just added and pull tight. And again, I'm going to go through the previous bead and back through the bead I just added, just to make it a little bit neater. Let's do it one more time. Put a 4mm bead on your thread, on your needle. Go through the opposite side of the previous bead that the thread is coming out of. Go back through the bead you just added. You're going to do this 87 times. When you've done this 87 times, you will have something that looks like this. Oops. This is 87 units of single ladder stitch. Now, when you're doing your necklace, if you decide you want to do a longer necklace than 16.5 inches, you can do more units of ladder stitch. However, you're going to need to establish your center. I've worked out all the specs exactly for 87 beads. If you're going to make it longer, make sure you end on an odd number. Then you're going to round down to the next even number. So in my case, I have 87. I'm going to round down to 86 and divide that by 2, which is 43. And once I have 43, I will add 1, and that's 44. 44 will be my dead center bead. Let's go through that one more time. You will make an odd number of beads, round down to the next even number. In our case, we have 87 beads. We're rounding down to 86. Dividing 86 by 2, which is 43. We will add 1 to that number, which is 44, and we will have our dead center. I have counted from the end of my segment of beads 44 beads to the center and just slid a little straight pin in there just to give me reference to know where my midpoint is. Now I've worked out exactly how many beads it will take to move to dead center, and then I will know that that's where my longest strand is. However, if you have not worked that out, marking it is really well, because you can put your beads on in your little units until you work to this spot. You know that this will be your longest one, and then you'll do just the opposite on the way back. So marking it helps, especially if you haven't worked out all the math. However, you do need to work out dead center. Whenever you're making a necklace that cascades down to the center, you have to have dead center. Otherwise, your necklace will be lopsided. Now, we are going to go to the end of our necklace. Okay, so as you can see, I'm coming out of the last unit of my ladder stitch on this side here. We are at the end of our necklace, so we're going to prepare it for our clasp, because we'll be working back through to the other end. After we're done with all our fringing, then we'll be there and the block will be available and ready to do the other side. So let's start our first side. We're going to pick up 4 10-0 seed beads on our needle, and then a 3mm crystal, and we're going to bring it down to our work. Then we're going to sew through one side of the wire protector. There are 2 little tubes on the bottom of a wire protector and a divot down the center. You will go up through one side of the cube, or the tube, and bring it down to your work. Now you will go through the other side of the wire protector. Grab a hold of your wire protector with your thumb and your finger and squeeze, and pull the thread slowly so that it guides right into the little divot on the top. If your thread falls over, it's a pain in the butt to try to get it into the divot, so guide it in there. And then at this point we will just go back down through our little crystal and only the crystal. We will pick up 4 more 10-0 seed beads and go through the other side of the crystal cube we're coming out of. Pull tight. It should look something like this. Sew through that 3 times. We're going to start our top embellishment and we're going to start fringing. We don't want any fringe coming out of this first block. It's reserved only, or this first cube, it's reserved only for our clasp. So we will start with the top embellishment, which will work us over to the second cube here. We'll pick up a 10-0, a round crystal, and a 10-0. Then you will come through the second cube and pull your needle through, pull your thread through. And you will have your little top embellishment. Now you will pick up, you'll start your fringing on the bottom. Now that we're through the cube, you will pick up 2 10-0s and a 4mm crystal, a 10-0, and a 15 seed bead. So this is what you'll have on your needle. You will pull down to the body of your work and then you will avoid the 15-0. You will sew back through the first 10-0, the cube, the 2 10-0s on top of the cube, and then through the cube in the ladder stitch, avoiding the little 10-0 in the fringe on top. Pull your needle through. Pull everything secure. Pick up a 10-0, a 3mm cube. Well, come here. And a 10-0. Go down into the next cube and pull. Make sure it's lying tight up against the top. Pick up 2 10-0s, a 4mm crystal, a 10-0, and a 15. Pull them down to the body of your work. Again, avoid the 15, go around it with your needle, go up through the 10, the cube, the 2 10s on top of the cube in the ladder stitch, avoid the 10-0 in the top embellishment, and pull tight. Sometimes you need to hold on to the bottom bead, 15-0, and pull it up tight. One more time. Pick up a 10. Let's move it out so you can see. Pick up a 10, 3mm round, and a 10. Go through the next bead in your ladder stitch. Draw the string through. Pick up, now that you're coming out, we'll do the fringe. Pick up 2 10-0s, a cube, a 10-0, and a 15. Bring them down to your work. And sew around the 15, through the 10, the cube, the 2 10s on top of the cube, and the ladder stitch cube, avoiding the 10-0 on top. And pull tight. And we will continue to do this 1 cube units for 8 cubes of the ladder stitch. So go ahead and do your 8 cubes, and we will move on to 2 cubes.